Hello my friends, my name is Elena Muratova. I'm Olympian, author and motivational speaker. The question I got is, how did it feel to do my sport when I was an athlete? I retired from professional sport 5 years ago already, in 2014, after Olympic Games in Sochi, where I participated. And I did freestyle skiing mogul for many years. Initially I did downhill skiing, and then when I was around 14 years old I switched to mogul skiing. And to be honest, it was very unusual experience, of course, to be involved in the world of mogul skiing. I felt very unique because there are not so many people who do moguls, and even not every country, from like in Europe for example, not every country that have access to snow have a mogul team. And I was very doing that sport, doing mogul, brought me a lot of feelings of uniqueness, and it was very cool. I think the negative side to this was that when I retired from sport, from the mogul, I kind of lost this feeling of uniqueness for some time. Another thing that being an athlete requires a lot of traveling, and it is not traveling that give you pleasure. When, for example, you travel as a tourist, you do whatever you want to do, you choose your destination and you enjoy it there. When you're an athlete, you travel a lot to training camps and then to the competitions, and often it's not a destination you would choose by yourself, but of course there are not so many places that have snow during the summer, or usually competitions, they are held in the same places every year. Some places are not the same. They're replaceable, they replace every year, but most of them, like the base, is the same. So like where you will travel during the competition season. And again, like during the competition season, it's just you come to one place, you spend there 4 or 5 days, depends on how many competitions you have there, and then you pack your stuff again, you move to another place, you spend there again like 4 or 5 days and then move to the next day. And this happens for approximately 3-4 months during the year, during this competition season. And when you have training camps, again, you travel a lot, but you stay at those places a little bit longer. Sometimes we spend 1 month at the same location. Unfortunately, when I traveled as an athlete, I didn't have a chance to experience a lot, to see a lot, because we usually spend most of our time in this ski resort or another place where we had our trainings. I did manage to see some big cities nearby, or to get a little bit of experience of the country, but again, it just probably just spending 1 day just doing some sightseeing, and that's all. But of course it was great time when I were able to see other cultures, see other countries, and understand the variety and diversity of the world. Another point here is that as an athlete in our sport in mogul, you need to know a lot of skills. First of all, of course, you need to know how to ski and do it perfectly. So we spent a lot of time practicing our turns on the groomed slopes and then on the mogul course on the bumps. But because we have 2 jumps on our course, of course we have to practice jumps as well. And that is why we spent some of our summer training on the trampoline and then training on water jump or water ramp. So initially you practice your jumps on the trampoline, then you kind of move this jump to the next level and practice them on the water ramp, because it's just safer to land into the water if you did something wrong with your jump. And then you transfer this new developed skill to the snow, and you practice this jump not on the course, but just on a separate jump without any bumps. Just practice it there, and then you transfer that jump into the course. So where you actually ski down on the bumps, and then you jump, land, and go further. And because we needed to develop a lot of different skills, and also we have to work on our physical conditioning and strength conditioning, of course. Sometimes during the summer we had 3 training sessions per day. We could had first training on the water ramp, and then had a quick lunch and short break, and another second training on the water ramp, and the third one was physical training in the gym or some agility training. And it was hard because since the morning till the evening you doing something physically, exercising. If we were at the skiing resort and we had our skiing training, again, we went to ski during the first trainings and some break, second training on the skis again, and third training as just some physical exercising. Yeah, sometimes it was really hard. We did have some day offs, of course, but I can't imagine right now training like this. But closer to the competition season, our trainings, they weren't so intense, and we focused more on practicing. Not practicing, I can say, just mastering our program for competition. Another part of being mogul skier for me was that I experienced this fear to get injured, because in mogul skiing there is very high chance of get injuries, especially on your knees, and it happened quite regularly, not very often, but it's a normal situation on the slopes on the mogul course. And it kept me under the tension, because when you practice, as I mentioned, you put so much effort in your training, you travel a lot, you don't see your families, your friends, you so focused on your training. You come home maybe for 1-2 weeks, and then you go back to training to another place for competitions or training camps. So when you put so much effort into your training, you want to compete, you don't want to get injured right before the competition. That sadly happened during Olympic Games in Sochi, for example. A few girls, they were injured right during the competition day, during the warm up before the competition, that got injured. And I was like, oh, I don't know, I could imagine. It's so sad to go through that when you almost reach your goal, you're almost there, it's like the same day. Oh yeah, so I had like this fear inside me for all this time, actually, while I was preparing to competition in general and particularly to Olympic Games. And the last one that I wanted to share is that when you on a national team, I can't say for everybody, I just talking about my experience, I felt very responsible. There is a little bit different system in Russia. Athletes, they're very supported by government, and government put a lot of money into the training and competitions to just give the opportunity to athlete to train and then go to the competition and compete there. And that is why I felt very responsible. I felt this obligation to compete well, and it's created some pressure. And especially Olympic Games is totally different story. It's like so much pressure, especially if it's your home Olympics. It's difficult to explain those feelings, those emotions. They're very, very unique. And to be honest, I didn't, after doing Olympic Games, I didn't want to do it again because it was so hard. And it's a big commitment. It's like 4 years commitment before next Olympic Games. So it's like 4 years. You commit this 4 years for training constantly, doing your best and preparing to those one or few days of competition. So it was my experience of being an athlete, and if you have any other question, please ask me, leave your comment. And I talk a lot, I read a lot about my experience with the sport, about my addiction to sport, which I also had, and my experience in training and competitions in childhood and in later years. I talk about all this and write about this in my book. My book is called My Russian Way to Boldness, How to Find Yourself, and it is going to be published in December this year. So if you want to be one of the first readers of this book, please order your copy. I will put a link below this video, so you can just click and pre-order, order your book, and it will be delivered to you in December. And you can read much more there about my story as an elite athlete, but also about my other stories, my personal stories. I hope you will have a nice Thanksgiving weekend. If you live in Canada and you have Thanksgiving. If you live in another countries, just enjoy your weekend. And I hope to talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye.